Okay. Every 2 years in the United States, the American people have the ability to influence the government at both the federal and state level. However, many people within the country who can vote choose not to vote. The presidential election year has the most voter participation across the country. However, only about 60% of eligible voters actually go vote during those years. In the midterms, however, only about 40% of the people who can vote do go vote. And in years such as special elections or odd year elections or primaries and local elections, that falls to about 40%. And even sometimes it has fallen below 35% during some elections. That is just about 1/3 of eligible voters who actually go out and vote. So this leads to obvious questions. Why is it so low? And obviously, what can be done to increase voter participation in all elections every year, no matter what? After doing some diligent research, I have not only determined why voter participation is low in the United States, but I have a few ideas about how to increase voter participation throughout the United States across all elections. In order to increase voter turnout across the country, many things need to happen, such as making voter registration automatic, which means automatically registering everybody to vote, increasing the ways in which people can vote, and encouraging people to go vote even when an election may not be coming up soon. So in order to determine what needs to be done in order to increase voter turnout, you first need to completely understand what and why participation in the United States elections are so low. Voter turnout in the U.S. is around 60% in presidential election years and 40% midterm years, and lower in primaries and special elections. This is in part due to the way it takes to register in some parts of the country. Every single state has different rules and laws governing the registration process, and even some cities and counties implement the registration process, how the registration process is done. This makes it very complicated and difficult for everyone to understand and be able to register to vote. Also, as seen with many demographics, younger people aren't interested in voting in any election. In every case, the elderly are always the people who vote the most. So people who don't exercise their right to vote have made the United States' voter turnout one of the lowest among all of the developed countries that hold elections. When you look at Belgium, their average voter turnout is 87.2%, which is much higher than the U.S. Belgium has the highest voter turnout in the whole world that holds elections, but many other countries around the world have a voter turnout rate in the 80s and 70s, which is still much higher than any in the United States. This lack of participation in the United States leads to a government that cannot accurately measure the wants and needs of the American people, what the wants and needs of the American people are, since sometimes less than 50% of people vote, which means that sometimes less than half of the country is actually voicing their opinion and influencing the government the way they should be. This causes many people to not like the government and to not trust the government and the decisions that they make, which helps take away from the legitimacy of the government. And as you can see now, distrust with the government is at one of the highest it's ever been. So, people must turn out in order to vote, for their voices to be heard, and for the federal, state, and local governments to be able to do what is truly best for the entire country, their state, or their region, or their community in which they have elected those people to. So how can the U.S. increase voter turnout? There are three things that can be done that wouldn't just increase it, but would greatly increase it and get it to the rates that many European countries such as Belgium see. Firstly, they need to create an automatic registration system that automatically registers all eligible voters when they turn 18. This would greatly help increase voter turnout because it would greatly increase the number of people who could vote. This is evident in Oregon, where they instituted this. After they created this in Oregon, their voter turnout increased greatly. Many, many more people began to vote because they now have the ability to vote without having to go out of their way and register. Secondly, They need to create more ways for people to vote and give them more time than just one day to vote. Allow a few days for people to vote, so if something comes up or they cannot vote on that specific one day, then they still have the opportunity to go and vote and still have their voice and opinion heard. Also, the government could create a secure way for people to vote online or even from an app on their phone. Thirdly, politicians, celebrities, and everybody else need to try to encourage people to participate in elections and go vote even when a vote or an election isn't imminent. Also, people who try to push and get people to go vote, they don't need to try and push their certain political party or their certain political agenda. They need to just encourage people to come out and vote for whoever they think is best for the country, their state, or community. If these three things happen across the country, voter participation would greatly increase and create a more energetic, better functioning government that would be able to benefit all Americans instead of just a few who vote. When you look at the 2016 election, only about 50% of Americans who could vote did vote, which almost certainly contributes to the political division and anger that is widespread throughout the country right now. Had more people voted, different people may have taken office, and we could have been able to avoid all of this political division and anger that is so widespread throughout all of America today. If more people voted, more voices would have been heard, which would have allowed for the United States government to be able to actually accomplish what the American people want. They would be able to actually create a better America for all Americans and everyone else around the world. So, go out, get registered, go vote, and voice your opinion. Go out and change this country and help to make it the best possible place it could be. Thank you.